Good evening. Sorry for this delay. We tried to start it on time, but it's kind of difficult to have balance between a good audience and starting on time. So we try to mix the things, and I think everybody can get the best of it. So talking a little bit about how our session is going to be. We are having now the welcome. We have the workshop part 1, a coffee break in half, another part of the workshop, final words, and at the end we will have a Natixis tour, guided tour. Well, everybody will be welcome to follow the guides and know a little bit more about the structure and the history and the business of Natixis as well. I don't know how many of you know Agile Connect. Agile Connect is a Portuguese organization. It was born in end of 2015, beginning of 2016. Started here in Porto, and now we are in 3 other cities: Lisbon, Aveiro, and Braga. And we have more than 1,100 practitioners in Portugal, 300 here in Porto. Here's the team. Pedro is not here. Nuno is getting closer, I think. Angela is our flower, our good flower. Mike, you can't make today as well, and Eduardo Espinheira, Duarte, our cameraman, and other things. And this funny guy here, the unsuccessful Johnny Depp. So our purpose is to inspire people and organizations to change their mindsets to outgrow. And how do we try to do this? By spreading the lean and agile mindset and practices, nurturing people to have autonomy, mastery, and purpose, and applying system thinking to solve complex challenges. We try to spread, not only to spread these thoughts, these ideas, but we also try to apply it ourselves. We run our team here in Porto as an autonomous team, so it is in Braga. Sofia is here, and she will not allow me to lie, lie alone, okay? And in Aveiro and Lisbon as well. And we try to do this and not only talking about this. Some of our achievements until today: we have done 50 meetups and 1 big conference, the Porto Scrum Gathering. I don't know how many of you was here in 2016. Carlton was one of the speakers during this conference. And we have our future goals that will be revealing soon. We will hear about it. Okay, be patient, please. We will also launch a survey, and we will probably publish it on the comments on the meetup page. So pay attention on the survey. And any of you who wants to get more connected with us, here are our website, LinkedIn channel, our Twitter account, Facebook community, and a Slack page as well. Our next meetup will be on February 27th at I2S or E2S, okay? So get prepared, put in your agenda, and with no further delay, okay, first we would like to thanks to Natixis for hosting us today, for all the support, and we will have a few words about Natixis from François. Please.
Good evening, my name is François Guillot. I'm very pleased to welcome you here in the name of Natixis and to host this meeting. Just a few words about Natixis and what we are doing here in Portugal. We arrived a bit later than the Agile Connect, where it was late in 2016, so more than 1 year from now. And we're building a competence center of IT people here in Porto. We're currently in this premise about 300 people right now, just in a bit more than 1 year, and we're targeting 600 people working on different areas. We belong to a group BPCE, which is the second largest banking group in France. Just to say that we're not only doing IT, but are doing IT for finance, and it's both business are important for us. Agile is very important for the company, and it's part of the strategic plan of Natixis for the 3 years coming. So we might participate to some other groups. There's some guys from Natixis that will follow and be with us on the guided tour, won't be alone for the guided tour. That's pretty much it for Natixis. So let's start with.
Thank you. And now, okay, with no further delay, please welcome our honored speaker, Carlton Littleton.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Agile Connect. Thank you to Natixis for hosting me tonight. Thank you, everyone, for coming to this session. I'm Carlton Littleton. I'm going to be the speaker tonight. And you're going to learn about some of the things that I have done wrong and failed on trying to launch a new product. And hopefully you can learn some new tools and techniques to help you avoid my mistakes. All right, so let me make the mistakes for you so you guys can improve from them. While we do a little change up the technology, I'm going to start you up by asking you to introduce yourselves to your neighbors. So basically, say who you are, where you're from, maybe what you do, where you work, but most importantly, what I would like you to talk about is a time when you launched a product or service that didn't have any sort of market impact at all. You thought it was going to be a great big success, but it just, nothing happened. Nobody used it, there wasn't a lot of social media buzz on it, it was just not very exciting, okay? So introduce yourself to one or two of your neighbors. Again, say what your name is, where you're from, maybe what you do, where you work, but spend most of your time, you have 4 minutes, to talk about when you launched a product and nothing happened. All right? Go.
Great, but of course then you set your event up and then promote it to your audience. But they never did. We haven't really checked on this. Like there was this main hypothesis that they would do it, and they just wouldn't. I think you could have found that out. Yeah, no, it's still there. It will be switched off soon, but it's been around for 4 years now, and it never took traction. Because one main hypothesis and the whole thing was wrong.
Okay, so that's our time. That's our 4 minutes to make our introductions and to talk about an experience where people had with a product launch that was a bit of a failure, or as we say in the United States, a bit of a flop. So let's talk about me and my background. I'm Carlton Nettleton. I'm the president of Look Forward Consulting. I am a certified Scrum trainer, and I have 17 years of experience with Scrum and Agile. Actually, I updated that slide earlier today. I've been doing this for quite a while. So I started in 2001 as an extreme programmer. I'm from California in the United States, so I apologize for my accent. I've lived in California for a long time, but today I live in Lisbon. I live in Portugal now. So I moved from the United States to Portugal in May. And I'm here today in Porto. I'm an international consultant and trainer and speaker. I've worked in all of those countries that you can see up there. I'm bilingual in English and Spanish. That doesn't really help me very much in Portugal. But I am taking lessons here, so I can speak a little bit. My reading's better than my speaking, but it is what it is. Not my first time to Porto. As Sulander said, I was here a couple of years ago for the Scrum Gathering Porto conference. I come every so often for the Agile Portugal events. I'm the author of a very short book that we'll give away to people who are interested a little bit later. I also teach classes on Scrum and Agile for organizations that are interested in that. Scrum Master classes, product owner classes. My mission, my personal mission, is to create new and innovative products, and I use a lot of the tools that for my own product development that I teach my clients or I ask my clients to use. This journey that we're going to talk about today is about my CSP FastPass product that I created in collaboration with a partner, and all the things that I did wrong, all the things that didn't help it get to launch. And we're going to learn some tools that I use to help rescue this product to make a market impact. This session is going to have 2 parts. It's very hands-on. Okay? If you don't want to participate in the hands-on activities, you don't have to. I encourage you to. But the first part will be talking about value proposition design based on the work of Alex Osterwalder, if you're familiar with him. And the second part is where we're going to talk more about innovation games and how to use innovation games, we'll explain what those are later, to test some different types of problem solution fit, market fit, and business model fit. So that's a quick high level of what we're going to do today. Here is our agenda. There are 6 points. There are freebies. There's lots of freebies at the end. The first half we'll do the create customer profiles and talk about value proposition design. Once we get done with that, we'll take our break, and then when we come back, we'll talk more about innovation games. So let's talk about where this story begins. And this story begins in 2013 in Las Vegas. So I was at Las Vegas, and I was at a session at a conference there. It's called the Scrum Gathering Phoenix. And I was at a session talking about the future of Scrum and Agile. And the presenter was Ron Jeffries. He's very famous in the Scrum world, very famous in the Agile world. And he was questioning about what are we doing, all of us in the general Agile community, but also specifically to other Scrum trainers, what are we doing to support the future growth of Scrum and Agile? And Ron Jeffries didn't think we were doing very much. Specifically, he was talking about the training community, trainers in general, but also Scrum trainers, saying, hey, we get people really excited and get them into this lobby that's called Scrum and Agile, right? And people are in there. It's like this big party, but they don't know where to go. They don't know the elevator to get them up to the higher levels, right? And that's Ron Jeffries' area, right? They don't know how to get out of the lobby to advance their skills and make greater impact, right? They are all in there, and you'll see in a minute, all 500,000, 600,000 of you are all there in the lobby with basic skills, and you haven't advanced your skills any much. And so Ron was giving a challenge saying, hey, we have to help the bigger global Agile community learn new things so that they can change the world of work. So the Scrum Alliance, with which I'm a member of, I'm a trainer with the Scrum Alliance, their mission is to change the world of work, right? To make it more dynamic, to focus on growth. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, okay, all of these people here, these Scrum Masters, these product owners, these developers, how do we help them advance? How do we help them improve? And Ron Jeffries' hypothesis, which I agree with, is that if you really want to change the world of work, you have to increase the certified Scrum professionals, the number of them. So this is what, when I created this product beginning in 2013, the CSP FastPass program. The CSP's FastPass program was designed to help people get this continuing education. This is what the Scrum Alliance certification program looked like. Whole bunch of people in the middle, there's kind of a bottleneck in the middle, and then coaches, different types of coaches and trainers. At the time, pre-2018, there was about 450,000 people globally that were at these entry level, and 4,600 globally at the professional level, right? That's about 1%. Less than 1% of all the people in the Scrum Alliance community have advanced to the next level. And if you look at the certification program today, and there's been some changes of the certification program, actually based on the market research inspired by this program, right? This program that I created here, this research I did to help people get to the next level, inspired the Scrum Alliance to modify their program, that market research. So today they've changed the program, and you'll still see here, again, this is about 630,000 people globally, and we have about 6,500 people at the professional level, right? That's not a lot of people that are going to change the world of work. This is a small number, but it's also a big opportunity, right? And I heard what Ron Jeffries said, and I said back in 2013, I said, you know, I'm going to do something. I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to try to change the world of work in my little space. And so I went out and I created a course. I created a new course. It was called Scrum Master Plus, and it was awesome. I spent about 18 months producing it with a friend. We created a workbook that had 63 pages. There were 20 different There was 20 different references in the back of the workbook on the things that people could continue to read, and we had a facilitation guide of 13 people, and we worked on this all the time. We spent a lot of time working on it, and we were ready to launch, and guess what happened? Nothing. No one signed up for this class. No one. And we were kind of marketing it to all sorts of people for a long, long time. And so we're like, okay, that didn't work, but we'll try again. And we tried again 3 different times, and we still got the same result. 0, 0, 0. I couldn't even give the class away. I seriously, at the end of the year, I said, hey, if you sign up for my Scrum Master class, I'll let you come to this extra day for free. Nobody wanted to come for free. I couldn't have people come for free. So I'm like, okay, something's wrong. All right, I'm trying to figure out, like, why do people want to come to this class? I mean, the class was awesome. It had a workbook at 63 pages. There were 20 recommended books. There were no PowerPoint slides. I don't have PowerPoint. I don't believe that in teaching. Like, why wouldn't anyone want to become a Scrum Master? I mean, I even called the class Secret Skills to Success. Who doesn't want the secret skills? I'm like, all right. So I said, I'm doing something wrong. And that's actually the first step, is you have to admit you're doing it wrong, right? And I said, okay, well, if I'm doing it wrong, what's wrong? And what I came to realize, I actually didn't figure it out on my own, I'll admit. A friend of mine recommended this book by Alex Osterwalder. So Alex Osterwalder is a business thought leader from Switzerland, and he wrote this really, really good book. And really what this idea of value proposition design is essentially how to create products and services that people want. And if you look at the back of the book, it's really great. It says a guide and stop building things that burn cash, communicate poorly, and build stuff nobody wants. Right? I don't want to build things nobody wants. That's a waste of time. And the idea is why that failed is because the secret skills to success did not talk to the important jobs, to the extreme pains, or the essential gains the people at the introductory levels were looking for. Didn't care. It's like, hey, I don't care. Interesting, but it's not it. But I don't want to spend any money. So this book here, if you're familiar with Alex Osterwalder's other work called the Business Model Canvas, his book here focuses on the value proposition and the customer segments. Right? Alex has written a lot on Business Model Canvas, so if you're interested in that, I encourage you to read that. But in his value proposition design book, we're talking about the areas in green. So I said, all right, if I don't have a value proposition, let's start creating one. And the place where you start in value proposition design is the customer profile, right? So you look at your various market segments, right, your various customer types, and you try to understand what are their jobs, what are their pains, and what are their gains, right? So what are the important jobs that they do every day? What are their pains associated with those jobs, and what sort of gains they are seeking? Very, very simple technique. I highly recommend spending some time in the value proposition design book on this chapter. One of the reasons why I love the book, it is beautifully illustrated. It is on beautiful paper, and it is mostly diagrams and short amount of text, right? So it's something you can pick up easily, like a manual, and just get to work. And so we said, okay, let's create some customer profiles. And here are customer profiles of people who are at this entry level at the Scrum Alliance community. So we were looking at Scrum Masters on the left, product owners on the right. And so instead of guessing what my customers were doing and what pains they were experiencing, I went to where the customers were, a conference on Scrum, and I asked them, I said, hey, do you have some time to participate in these games? So this is a collaborative game. And I said, we're going to write down, tell me all your jobs, right? Tell me all the pains associated with your jobs and all the gains. So jobs are yellow, pains are orange, gains are blue, right? And we created these customer profiles to get a sense of what are customers doing today, right? And then we asked them to prioritize. So if you see these jobs here, They are prioritized from insignificant to important, pains from moderate to extreme, and gains from nice to have to essential. Again, I don't expect you to read these. These are just photographs. And then we type them up. And again, this part here, the prioritization, to me, this is the most important part of creating the customer profile. And what makes it really important is that the customers prioritize, not the investigator, or not the product designer, right? This is what I would call the voice of the customer, if you're familiar with that terminology. This is real customer data where they go through and they tell you what's important. If you were to prioritize, which I don't recommend, basically you're substituting your judgment for theirs, right? As a product designer, I actually don't do these jobs anymore. I'm not a Scrum Master anymore. I used to be, back in 2005. I haven't really been a product owner. I've been a product owner for this small product, but not for large products or large banking products or financial products or different software products. So I don't really know what the jobs are of product owners, right? So by bringing in customers and asking them to prioritize, they're sharing that with me, which is amazingly insightful data. So here is what a Scrum Master customer profile result would look like. All right, so those Post-it notes were then typed up and put into this format here. So I'll let you just kind of take a look at this real quickly. Again, at the top, you have important jobs, extreme pains, and essential gains. All right? So this is what people are looking for. Right? This is what they're doing each day. This is what their problem is. This is why they don't get continuing education. And this is what they're hoping continuing education can provide them. Okay? So in the value proposition design book, there is two parts to a customer profile. One is the pains, gains, and jobs. And the second is what we call the value map. So this is what the provider is offering. So the gain creators, the pain relievers, and products and services. So this is the mirror image of the customer profile. And so in 2015, my business partner and I sat down and said, okay, here are all the products and services that we can offer. And so the idea of products and services, this is what's in your store window, right? If your product or service was an actual shop and you put things in the window to advertise, this is what's available you can offer to your customers. Now, not all of this would end up in your product, right? This is everything that you could possibly think of, right? The next, what you have here is then you'll see pain relievers. So how does your product or service, in this case, the CSP FastPass product, how does it relieve pains that those customers are experiencing, all right? And then finally, what sort of gains can you create for your customers? What are your differentiators at some level, right? Again, this is the information that we collected. So we captured the customer profile information. We asked the customers, what are your important jobs? What are your extreme pains? What are your essential gains? And then we went through a process of saying, okay, what products and services can we offer that help the customers with their jobs? What types of pain relievers do we have, and what are our gain creators? Right? So before we move into creating some customer profiles and prioritizing jobs, pains, and gains, I would like to just take a quick moment and see, are there any sort of questions that people have at this point? What more would you like to know about customer profiles or other topics that we've discussed so far? Don't be shy. I know it's after work. I'll jump down the stage. That would be less intimidating. What more would you like to know? Are you guys good? I'll start in the back. Okay. Yes, there we go. What would you like to know? Hopefully I have an answer. Yes.
expose yourself like this with your failure. We all have failures. So I understand the customer profile. I also understand the value map that
Yes.
you did. And my big question now is how to use this to avoid the next failure.
So so yes, how do we use this? So when you design your product offering, right? When you create the offering and when you're looking for what's called problem solution fit, right? What you do with the information from the extreme pains, the important jobs, and essential gains is that's what's in your product or service, right? Only things that are tied to important jobs that the customers are doing, only factors or elements which eliminate extreme pains, and only factors or elements or features which provide customers essential gains. So the idea is to only focus on what's truly important to the customer.
Okay, the idea is kind of prune your product, so it's focused on solving the pains or helping relieving the pains and kind of maximizing the gains that people are pointing out that are the important gain from.
Exactly, right. If your product can do those three things, they will pay to stand in line to buy your product. And if you remember when these things came out, these iPhones, people wanted these really badly, right? And people still do wait in crazy conditions, not like they used to, right? Because it's not as disruptive as it used to be. But people, for certain products, if the product truly resolves extreme pains or provides essential gains or solves important jobs, people will pay a lot for that product, right?
Thank you.
Yep. What else? Coming right here. Questions? Okay. I don't see any other questions. So let's move on and let's start doing this. All right. So we're going to have a couple steps to create some customer profiles or customer segments here, what I'm calling. And the first step is we're going to self-organize into groups of 6 or 9 people based upon market segment or differentiation. In my experience, it's better to have well-defined groups rather than broad groups. So we could just ask you, hey, form a group with 5 or 6 people that are next to you. But the customer profile that's created wouldn't be towards a specific market segment, so it's not going to be that insightful, unless what you were trying to build is for a generic market segment. In my experience, those types of products aren't very successful because you end up not pleasing everyone. So in this case, we want to talk about jobs that you're doing today. So if you are a Scrum Master, self-organize into a group over here. If you are a product owner, self-organize into a group over here. If you are a manager of any sort, self-organize over here. If you are team members, over there on that side of the room. And then the others just kind of hang out in the middle. We'll find out who's there. So self-organize, I kind of can't remember. Scrum Master's here, maybe? Yes. Yeah. Here. Oh yeah, Agile Coach. Agile Coach. Yeah, Agile Coach. If you consider yourself an Agile Coach, be over there. Team member there. I don't remember everything now. You're another? You're the others. Others. Managers are over there.
Isso aqui tá complicado. Senão vai. Sim, ficam no meio. Tem membros
Vou back there with those 3 women. Managers of any type over there. Scrum Masters. Scrum Master owners. Others. Okay, let's figure out what our others are. Like team members? Okay. Scrum Masters? Alright. Others. What's your name? What do you do each day?
Então ficar aqui.
Consultant. Project management consultant, you're over there. Dan. Yes.
So I'm in operations. So what goes wrong is goes in my hands.
Like DevOps?
Kinda, yeah.
Kinda. All right, hold on a second. I don't know. If, I have
All the applications, everyone.
Come on. Yes.
My name is Francisco and I'm a lean consultant.
Ooh, lean consultant. I think you're with the Agile coaches. I think you're with the Agile coaches. Yes? Oh, okay. All of you are enough? Oh, you are a group amongst yourselves. That's perfect. I mean, that's good. All right, excellent. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Where do the Scrum Masters begin and where do they end? 3 Scrum Masters, okay? And how many? 2, 4, 6, 8. I should do it in Portuguese. 10, 12, 14, 16. Okay. Let's do 3 groups here. So 3 groups, roughly equal size. So that's 5 or 6 people each. Okay. So each group will need one of these brown packets. Okay. So we'll need a volunteer to come up and get a brown packet. So for the group of team members, divide yourselves up into 3 different groups. Yes.
Mais mas depois ficamos só 3.
Pois é, que depois fica aqui.
Aquilo é que nós estamos a fazer mais um. Scrum Master agora tipo. Eles vão fazer chegar.
Nós estamos aqui, vai. Nós estamos aqui.
Okay. So inside, yes, you may open it. Inside, there is oh, it's been shouting. So used to shouting for training. So inside, there are a number of different materials. Okay. Take out the Post-it notes. Take out the blue sheets or the colored paper. Not all of it's blue. Some of them are yellow. And take out there are some white sheets in there too that say trigger questions. Take out those. You're going to use the other things later, so we'll just put those back in. So there's an envelope, I think, some index cards, and some larger white sheets of paper.
Tipo, eu acho que é o que está ali no diagrama.
So all you need right now are
Só que alguns não são azuis.
É só aquilo.
colored paper
Color paper.
and 2 sheets of paper that say trigger questions. Okay? There should be 2 sheets of white paper that say trigger questions. Everything else goes back into the envelope.
That is good.
So I have pens up here, so we're going to need volunteers.
Exato.
In a minute. Okay.
Mas não há folhas azuis.
É só este.
People are going to need Sharpies.
Mas são as verdes, sim.
Sim.
Do not metal color. Okay?
Mas é, foi isso que nós estamos a fazer.
Quadrinhos e post-its.
Meus amigos, é Scrum.
É tudo à base de
So
post-it.
let's get the Sharpies out. Everyone take a Sharpie. Don't write with the yellow Sharpies. Those aren't going to work. So just tell you that right now.
Posso ser? Buscar melhor, buscar mais duas canetas.
Não, para cada, não é?
Esquece depois de guardar. Soluço.
All
Às
right.
vezes há envelopes que não sabem abrir.
Sou.
May I ask you a Sharpie for a second? All right. Everyone hold their Sharpie up like this. That way I can see if you have one. Everyone hold a Sharpie up. All right, so Sharpie's over there. Yeah, you don't have one. Okay. Yes, no problem.
Eles precisam.
É um para cada um.
É para cada um.
So next step.
Obrigado,
We're going to create the customer profiles now for your specific group. So you're going to write, in a moment, a volunteer is going to come up and take this piece of paper here with this circle in. And look here, I have jobs, pains, and gains. And you're going to write along the top what your group is. So your group is product owners, Scrum Masters, HR, development team members, Agile coach, etc., okay? And then you will have 10 minutes to identify jobs, pains, or gains with your stickies, right? So jobs, what types of jobs are you asked to do every day? And you're gonna write down a job on a yellow Post-it note, only a yellow Post-it note. There's a reason for that, and I'll explain after. And then you'll just put this here in this piece of the pie. When you've collected enough jobs, I recommend anywhere between 10 and 20. Move on to the panes. Those will go on the orange Post-it notes, one per Post-it note. And then the gains. Gains will be on the blue Post-it notes, and you'll put them here. Here is my recommendation on this activity. Don't sit as a group and say, okay, what's the first job? Work in pairs or by yourself to identify jobs. Don't worry about duplicates. If you have duplicates, we'll sort it out later. Don't have like a conversation with the whole group and say, okay, job number 1's this, job number 2's this. You will not get 10 to 20, right? So just work in small groups, change up partners, work by yourself, work with a neighbor. If your group's really small, you can work together, that's fine too, I don't mind that. But larger groups, the idea is try to get more ideas rather than less, okay? Once you're done, move on to panes. If people in your group don't want to talk about jobs, they can start with panes. You don't have to go in order either. Okay, so some part of your group could start with gains, another part could do jobs. You can go back and forth. 10 minutes. One other thing. So there are trigger questions. So the trigger questions help you go deeper. So, right, try to think about here for customer gains. What sort of things make you happy? So customers in this context, for you as product owners, what sort of things make you happy? What types of savings would you like to get? What quality levels do you expect? So some of these trigger questions may not apply to everything, right? You'll have to kind of use your judgment. But the idea here is, what are you hoping to gain by your job and your role, right? What are the gains you're hoping to get? Pains. What are the pains associated with your job? The types of things that irritate you? What makes you feel bad? What are your main difficulties and challenges associated with being in recruitment? Jobs. Jobs also are important. We think about functional jobs, which are like, you know, I post a job, I write user stories, I write code, I respond to incident reports, I facilitate meetings, right? Those are functional jobs. There are other types of jobs that are very important. Social jobs and personal jobs. The difference between a social job and a personal job, a social job is something you do to gain power or status in the organization. There's nothing wrong with power, there's nothing wrong with status, they enable you to do different things, right? Or they're jobs that you do to satisfy other people, other people's needs. Personal jobs are things that you would do because people, even if no one asked you to do it. For instance, a social job might be that you bring in cake on people's birthday. Well, no one asked you to do that. You don't get paid to do that. No one reimburses you. You just do it because it's the right thing to do. That's a social job, right? It's a personal job, sorry. A social job is something that you do because of the organization, right? Okay? Any questions before we start? So, volunteers will need to get tape and a diagram. And I'll walk around and help you. Go!
Eu estou aqui à beira.
Vai lá, vai lá. Dois precisam.
So 2 minutes remaining. So 2 minutes, look where your diagrams are weak and keep adding more. Right? The idea is to hit lots of ideas on this sheet of chart paper. Keep going. Use the trigger questions. So there's 30 more seconds. So put up those last ideas. Either finish up whatever you're writing or write down one last idea and get them up there. We're going to now move to what I think is the most important part, which is the prioritization. So our helpers have a sheet of paper here. And I'll show you what it's going to look like. So now we're going to rank the jobs, pains, and gains. And we're going to use this scale here. Important to insignificant. Extreme pains to moderate, essential to nice to have, okay? And here's how I recommend ranking these. 2 recommendations. 1, do it silently, do not talk. If you disagree where someone places something, put it somewhere else, right? If you think a job is really important and your neighbor thinks it's less important, they can move it down. If the author if the person who wrote the original idea moves it back, leave it there. Right? It's their idea. The second thing to know. Hold on. One moment. Atenção. Atenção. The other thing. You don't need to force rank it from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see the diagram here? You can have 3 important jobs. That's okay, our lives are complex. So do this silent sorting in 6 minutes. So my recommendation is you'll probably need to do it, divide and conquer. Some people are going to rank the pains, some people are going to rank the jobs, some people are going to rank the games. That's okay. If you can always take a look at it after you're done with your whatever category your group's working on. So 5 minutes, okay? Because we want to go to the break. 5 minutes. Okay, so that's time. That's time. So we're gonna have a break momentarily. 2 things I'd like you to think about. 1, during the break, take a few moments to talk with a neighbor or talk with someone about what did you learn about creating a customer profile that is helpful for your job, right? So you just spent the time creating a customer profile. So we talked about how to do it. Now you did it. So talk about what you learned about this process, right? What's it about? What's important? Maybe some insights that you learned about other people's jobs, pains, and gains, right? Talk about any sort of insights or just new ideas that you have. Also, talk about maybe some questions so that when we come back, I'll answer some questions about this process and how to get started. The second thing I want people to know is in March, I am going to be offering a certified Scrum Master class on March 8 and 9, and I'm also going to be doing a certified product owner class on April 12 and 13. If you would like to go to the certified Scrum Master class, someone from this meeting will get a free ticket to that course on March, you have to keep looking, 8 and 9. Please give your name to the Agile Connect folks. They're up here. And then at the end of tonight's meeting, we'll draw your name from a hat, and then I will get in touch with you about how to get your free ticket. Okay? So if you're interested, see these guys up here, give them your name. If you're not interested, you don't have to see them. But you can still take the class. Okay, break 10 minutes. Yes, it's free for one person tonight. The other class, you'd have to pay. When do we come back? You want to come back at 8:20? That's 13 minutes?
Yeah.
8:20. Okay. Oh, and I'll answer questions too during the break if people have questions. Stay close to your group, but sit. Or stand. If you want to stand, you can stand. That's fine by me. But if you choose to sit close to the people that you have been working with. All right, while we wait for people to filter back in, what more would you like to know about customer profiles or prioritizing or ranking this work? Or what insights did you have? Yes.
We noticed that the context matters a lot. Like for instance, contributing to the Agile culture, is it important or not really depends on what type of company you're in. Like in some, it will be super important. In others, you can just take it for granted. So how do you deal with that in this process?
So
if you have a mixed group of customers.
Well, I mean that is part of when you play these collaborative games. And what we're not doing here tonight is spending a little bit of time asking the participants of the game or of the prioritization activity, tell me what went on in your discussion. How did you rank these? Were there any disagreements? And ideally those types of issues will come up. The other idea that I recommend for people is observe. Just observe how they interact with one another. So when you have, I feel like when you have people playing these collaborative games, assign someone just to kind of observe the interactions and make note of anything that's interesting or a bit unusual so that you have more data. Okay, not, in a sense like stand over them and watch, but just stand back, gotta see what's going on. Okay, what else? What other questions or insights came up for people? Yes.
For me, this felt kind of similar to doing like strategical plan. Like you do a SWOT analysis and then you start prioritizing any kind of things to do. So, to which point is this connected to strategical planning, or where do we use a strategical planning, or where it's really much better to do this kind of exercise?
So I call this kind of in the fuzzy front end. As you work on a product or service, it kind of funnels in, right? And so customer profiles is in this kind of front end. It's something that you would do early on to make sure that you understand your market segment and you understand what's important to them, right? You can always come here and realize, oh, we don't understand them, but then you go back, right? So more in the beginning. Anything else? One more. Okay, so before we move, I'm going to give you just 60 seconds. Now, imagine we're product designers, right? We've collected this customer profile information. The customers have told us about what their important jobs are, what their extreme pains are, what are essential gains that they're seeking, right? So the next question, I would like you to talk with your neighbor, 60 seconds. What do you want to know next, right? You have all this information, so where do you want to go as a product designer? What do you want to test, right? How do you validate that this information is accurate for everyone in the customer segment, right? Imagine, I mean, here we have 3 product owners, right? Does this represent all product owners? Or I think there are 4, I don't remember. There are 3 Scrum Masters over here. Does this represent all Scrum Masters? Right, so what do you want to know next? 60 seconds. Think about that. Talk with your neighbor. So, let's move on. And let's start talking about the next part in this workshop, innovation games. So we've got this idea from our customers, from our market segments, on what they think is important, what are their pains and what are their gains. And we're going to design a product or service and an offering that helps them realize the jobs, eliminate the pains, and realize the gains. But how do we test that? How do we validate that our offering is accurate? And what are we trying to do? So let's talk about innovation games. Innovation games are a way to help us understand or validate our customers and our assumptions and hypotheses. They were created by Luke Holman. He's over there. He wrote this famous book called Innovation Games. And the idea, an innovation game is a serious game, as opposed to a game that you play on your mobile phone that just is entertaining. And a serious game is any sort of game that allows you to make decisions or gain insights into customer behaviors or decision making. They play all sorts of serious games from the military, but also here in product design. Serious games are very, very important. And Luke's book has 12 games, and here they are, all 12 of them. In the next part of the workshop, we're going to talk about how we would use these games to help us validate some hypotheses or assumptions. So they're all here. In the packets, each of you will have a short description, so you'll have them to look at in a few minutes. I just want to show you them here. I highly recommend playing innovation games. Every time I play innovation games with my customers and users, and they are designed to be played with customers and users, I always get something insightful that I didn't anticipate. Every single assumption that I had about a customer behavior or user behavior has always been invalidated by playing games. I highly recommend them, right? And we played a lot of innovation games to help us design our product and our offering, the CSP FastPass program, right? Remember, this journey is about a product that failed, right? First thing that failed on the product is it didn't have a value proposition that appealed to people. It didn't appeal to their jobs, pains, or gains. So let's see what came next in our journey. So we want to figure out if we have a fit. And this comes from value proposition design. And there's 3 types of fit. Do you have a problem solution? So the first thing is, do I have a solution to a problem that a customer or user is experiencing? Okay, that's the first type of fit that you need to define or identify when you're creating a new product or service. Second, product market fit. So product market fit is, okay, I have identified the problem correctly, our solution appeals to the customer, so product market fit is, okay, will they pay us money for this, right? That's about product market fit. So then next after that is called a business model fit, and a business model fit says, okay, they pay us money, but can we make profit out of it? Right? So there's 3 types of fit when you have a value proposition design. The first is you want to figure out, okay, the first problem solution. The next, will they pay us money? Are they motivated to pay just to resolve the problem? Will the product pay for the product? And the last is, do we have a scalable, repeatable business model that can make us money? So this is what we did when we created our customer profiles. We said, all right, let's create a landing page, but not on a website, just the text, right? And this is what we wrote. I said, I don't know, I'm going to just take a stab at it. And this is what came up. We shared it with potential customers and trusted colleagues. We said, hey, what do you guys think about this value proposition that we came up with? And we had some good things, right? Hey, thank God. Pretty smart idea, right? And then some bad. Okay? Used car salesman in the United States, not a nice guy. People don't like used car salesmen at all, right? They felt like it was kind of like you were trying to sell us something that we didn't want. So we iterated and came up with this. So we took the feedback, and now we built a real website, right? But all it was just this one page here. Said, hey, are you looking to continue, right? And if you look at the value proposition, and you read this right here, this is exactly what was collected in Phoenix way back in 2015. This, I believe, was created at the beginning of 2016, the end of 2015. This is exactly what Scrum Masters in Phoenix told us were their jobs, were their pains, and what they were looking for. And this website, all you could do with this website was just give an email address. You couldn't sign up for a class or anything. It was real lean startup, very build, measure, learn. And so we learned that people like this stuff, right? And when we started showing it back to our trusted colleagues and our peers, and we interviewed members at the Scrum Alliance, said, hey, please look at this website, tell us what you think. Right? I think we interviewed about 15, 17 people out of 150, which is pretty good, 10% response rate on the interviews. These are the questions and responses we got. Okay, some people, they don't like certifications. Okay, well, they're not a customer. Fine. But look at all these other questions, right? When does this start? If someone paid for it. I like the clear objective goal. Will this be in London, right? So we're getting good results. Also, on the website, we ran a test for about 2 months or 3 months, and with very low-level AdWords, we collected between 40 and 60 emails on the forum. Just, hey, 40 to 60 emails. This product never existed. We just did real simple AdWords on it, low spend, and people were giving us their email information to get more data. So, we are going to move on to our second design challenge. So get back to your groups, and you're going to need your envelopes. So everyone get back to your groups. We're going to talk about fit. So once everyone's back in your group, you're going to need, can I see your packet here? Okay. I'll give you this in a second. So each packet now remaining has a sheet of paper about this size. It says Innovation Games. There are index cards with the names of the Innovation Games on them and a mission. So imagine you are product designers now, and you are asked to figure out which innovation games would you use to test product market fit for a product you're working on. So this is more about your current products. If you're not currently working on a product, think of an imaginary product. And on the back, it tells you what product market fit is. Evidence your value proposition alleviates customer pains and or creates desired gains. So you'll read about these innovation games and then pick 2 from this packet that you think would test product market fit of your product. Okay, so if think about your products or services back at work. Maybe you're having a new offering, maybe you're having a new release, etc. 8 minutes to discuss that as a group. Which 2 games would you select? Inside the brown envelope is a envelope that says solution. John, open this. Check. See how correct you are.
Posso abrir?
Product solution fit.
Okay, that's time.
Me and my shadow.
So,
The key. E Speedball. Os seus que
Olha,
nós
essa
temos
coisa
que
no Speedball e no Whenever.
tens que estar também, também podes ser se calhar Start Your Day, nós temos escolhido, Me and My Shadow temos escolhido, a Planet temos escolhido, Speedball temos escolhido.
so what do people think? Do people get at least one of these for this? Yeah? At least one, two? Yeah, so
4 or 5.
4 or 5, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to solve these problems with the different missions, right? And these games can be used in a variety of contexts, right? And that's why I wanted to get you thinking about product designers. When you're designing new products or services or extending new products and services, there's no one answer, right? There's a lot of different ways to try to test a hypothesis or validate something that a customer tells you. And what game you pick sometimes depends on where you are in trying to validate your value proposition design or your business model. So I want to encourage you, this is an introduction, encourage you to explore these games, look to these games to help you generate some deeper insights about your products and services so you can avoid my mistake, building a product that nobody wanted, okay? So before we move on to closing and the freebies, what more would you like to know about innovation games or about these different types of fits? What more would you like to know, or did anyone have any additional insights that they would like to share as a result of this last exercise tonight?
Here.
Yes, thank you.
For example, in the real life, when we are trying to do this kind of stuff, how much time would it take? Like, is it something that you do these kind of processes for some days, for a week, for a month? How many people? Because here it's a workshop in general to learn about it, but you are going to make a product. How long is the process in real life?
Well, it depends on if you're doing this full-time or part-time. So for the CSP FastPass product, my business partner and I went through this process for at least 3 to 6 months, and it was an iterative build, measure, learn type idea. So first we just wrote like a script for a web page, showed it to people, used that information, created a real web page. Then we created test products that people wanted to use, and we would show that and we would iterate. So it's definitely a cycle, very, very much a lean startup cycle, and it all depends on how much access you have to your customers and how much time you can dedicate full time. Another product I worked on with a customer, we spent probably 3 sprints. They were 6 weeks, they were 2 weeks each. We spent 3 weeks in discovery, specifically around organizing games like this with customer profiles, different innovation games around Prune the Product Tree, Remember the Future, all sorts of different games. Our team was 3 or 4 people working. That was also part-time because we had other things that we were working on, but we did that over 3 sprints, 2 weeks each, and each sprint was targeted on a specific goal or objective around validating. So the challenge with that was we were working with a global community of users, not just people that you could go get from a street. So more of the challenge was just trying to find people. Okay, helpful?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I would encourage this to be a continuous activity rather than something you just do once and stop, right? Anything else? Yes? One more question after this.
After you go through this process regarding your training,
Yep.
CSP training, at the end, do you get a new, completely redesigned product, or you just change the way you communicate it?
No, it was completely different. So thank you for asking that. So the initial idea was around classroom training. And it was going to be 3 or 4 days of classroom training. And that people didn't want at all. That was actually part of the problem. People couldn't, if you remember, people can only spend 10% of their time on education. I can't get away from work. So asking people to do classroom training, that wasn't going to work. Then we became inspired by the idea of doing on-demand online learning. And when we started talking about that got people really interested, because they're like, well, I can do this at a time that's convenient for me. And then the final thing that really helped us understand the product, and again, this was the iteration, it's really getting what I would call, so the problem solution fit was the online element of it. Once we figured that out, then people there was a lot more interest. The product market fit, where people actually started paying for it, was around the whole idea of, instead of selling individual pieces, like you get this class and that class, you get the whole certification. And once people understood that they could get the whole certification and not just piece of it, that really started people wanting to pay, encouraged people to pay. I won't say make them pay. And so that really helped. So the first original idea, the first idea that never sold, was 3 days of training. That didn't work. I even tried to make it 1 day of training. That didn't work. The in-person element didn't work. Then using the value proposition design encouraged us to go to online training or on demand. And then finally giving the whole package, the whole certification, not just a piece of it. That's actually a pivot from the lean startup world. That helped us really figure out, you saw the platform instead of the individual pieces. That's really where it started getting to product market fit. Yep. And I will admit, we are not at a scalable business model yet. Haven't cracked that yet, but we need more data from the product market fit. So, yes. Last question, and then we'll do the freebies.
How important is it to get feedback from people from outside this process?
Do you mean like actual customers and end users? Or do you mean just like advisors?
Potential customers, advisors, people that have the same experience as you?
I think the feedback that you need is from customers and users. Advisors are helpful, right? Because they help you see outside of your biases, right? Because they're not not as passionate as you are about it. Because I really believe in this idea of continuing education for people. I believe this continuing education should be online at this level. Advisors can help you see the problem a little bit more objectively, with a little bit more business sense. But the customers and end users are the people in the end who are going to buy it. And I think that is the most important feedback. Those are the people you have to talk to frequently and early. And in my opinion, that's what's been working for us.
Right. How do you get to talk to them?
You go to where they are. Places like this. You go to conferences. You can go online. There are a lot of different places where you can talk to customers and end users. It just depends on the type of market that you're building, or the product you're building, your market, and finding ways to get access to them. A lot of times customers want to give you information, and so the games help you get information from them, help them, encourage them, and help them to share information with you about what their problems are. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so thank you tonight. I appreciate everyone participating. Before we do the freebies, I would like to kind of clean up a little bit. So take everything that you're not taking home with you and put it into the brown envelopes. Everyone, here, can I see this for just a second? Everyone can take a copy of this for yourself or for a friend. There are the customer profile sheets. You can take a copy of that for yourself or a friend, as many as you want. If you want, you can have the Post-its. They're from the US. They're the super sticky ones. They won't fall down. You can keep the suggestions if you want. There's only one copy. These need to go back into the brown envelope and anything else that you're not going to keep, so I can take it to the next session. Let's just do that quickly for 60 seconds, and then when you're done, sit down.
Już poszlić graça do trzech.
Thank you.
Sim, acho que não.
All right, that's getting close to being cleaned up, so thank you. I really appreciate that. I like doing these types of sessions, but they do create a lot of what we call chaff. All right, so now I'd like us to this book here, right? Alex Osterwalder's book. And I'm going to give it away based on groups. So that group there is going to be number 1, that's Scrum Master. If you were in that group there, that was going to be the team 1, team 2. There was a third group in the back. There was that group there with the Agile coaches, the managers, the POs, and the HR. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to use my random number generator because I just downloaded it today. Pick a number from 1 to 8. Okay. And let's see, and then from there we'll figure out who wins the book there. Okay, not that one. That was 0. I'm not gonna 0. Okay, group 1. Group 1 is our Scrum Master group. Okay, and there were 3 Scrum Masters. Raise your hand if you're the Scrum Master group. 1, 2, 3, and the book is going to be given to one of those lucky people. Okay. Another 0. Okay, this is a bad random number generator. Let me try that again. 2. Who was 2? There you go. Thank you. I appreciate it. Americans get screwed up. Okay. I have 9 copies of my own book. So if you want to get it after the session, it's first come, first serve. Okay. So if you want a copy of my book and you didn't get Alex's book, you can get it online. It's on Amazon.com. It's great. Then there's one more here, right? The free class. So the Scrum Master class is March 8th and 9th. It's going to be here in Porto. And then the Product Owner class, if you're interested in that, oh, I lost track of that. My marketing team's going to be so angry at me. It's in April. Go to my website. We'll handle it that way. Okay. So that one right there. Who is that? I have a hard time with Portuguese names, so I don't want to make it really bad. So who we got? Sofia Paixoto. Okay. And is there anything else? I think we're almost done. Yes, photo. Winner. Hi, welcome.
Very discreet.
And the book? And the book?
Alright.
Oh, with the book?
Yes.
No.
No. If you don't want to picture, that's fine.
She won the Scrum Master class. Okay.
Okay.
No.
So, okay. We are in for now. Now we will have the Natixis guided tool, and we also have a dinner, usually with everybody who can go to the dinner are invited. Everyone pays for yourself, okay? And we are friends as the same, okay? And we will arrange where this dinner will be outside. Anyone who wants to join us will be welcome. We keep talking about Agile, talking about learning from failure and learning with it to improving and trying to get higher levels. And our next meetup, February 27th, put in your agendas. Anything else?
Feedback.
Our feedback, the most important thing. Our feedback here, just point where the face that represents you here, and we will appreciate that very much. Once again, thank you, Carlton, for your time.